This podcast of the Tailgate Society is sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. When Rob and Christy Taylor started following the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in 2012, they fell in love with not only bourbon, but the entire distilling process. So they opened Revelton Distillery, where they offer a family of products including vodka, gin, whiskey, and Revelton Shine. Come visit the tasting room at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or pick some up at your local Hy-Vee or Fairway grocery store.
This podcast contains material that is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners. Enjoy.
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can, and we'll all join in to that original sin. So let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society, and brought to you by Revelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa, where Chris and I recently had a very pleasant time. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing this evening?
Oh, we are ready to have a discussion tonight.
that is good. Yeah, man, it has been a bit of life has happened. I'll just put it that way. It's been a whole lot of things going on. So I'm kind of excited to dig into it, but I feel like we need to spend some time talking a little bit more about Revelton.
Oh my gosh, yes. What a turnout that ended up being. That was so much fun down there.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, Rob and Christy could not have been nicer hosts, could not have been better people for us. Despite knowing you your entire life, they still were pleasant to us. So
right, I know. Salt of the earth people, let me tell you.
They really are. That was a lot of fun. All of the fans and friends and everything else that joined us. Boy, I left that day feeling like I was on the biggest high of my life. That was so much fun. It was really good. We got to see, some friends of the pod stop by. We got our fearless leader Ted Flint coming by. We got Sean Roberts even stopped by the pod, which was great. We got a little bit of everything, and man, I don't know what you and I did right, but we got a lot of people to come out and support us. We did.
It's kind of overwhelming to have that kind of support. Kind of like what Sean said when he was down there. When you see your T-shirt out there, or when you see somebody mention something on social media about your talks or your podcast, it's just kind of nice to know that you're touching people and things like that. And Rob and Christy and their support and their sponsorship has been great. I even had somebody tweet at me today who's in Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament, say they packed right and took a picture of their American gin from Revelton.
Oh, so, excellent.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just nice that I feel like we have a good group of listeners and supporters, and just want to thank you guys so much. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little, well, this is an audio medium, so people don't know this anyway. I was a little disappointed because earlier today, and then I spilled all over it. I was wearing a brand new Revelton zip up hoodie that I got down there that has been kind of my go-to for the last couple of weeks. Frankly, it's probably good I spilled on it because I could probably stand to wash it because I've been wearing it pretty much nonstop, and I'm sure it smells like me, which is, lavender and cinnamon or whatever I smell like. But man, just So many great times. And again, if you have not given that a listen, please, listeners, check us out on, Spotify, Apple Pods, Stitcher, your mom's cassette tape. I don't know what else you might be able to hear us on. But that
Listen, I learned a lot. I learned a lot that night editing that podcast and Googling and YouTubing how to lower background crowd noise.
Hey,
I figured out how to split audio and lower and higher level and other audio. So I learned something new that night, and there you go, Bill Willers. You won't have to bitch and complain that Tim's audio will be all low anymore. I'll figure it out and edit it.
Well, you know what? Bill's gonna find a way to bitch about everything anyway. So
oh, I know.
If there's one thing that man knows how to do, he came here to do two things: kick extra points and bitch. And he's
right?
he's all out of extra points.
Right.
Well, good, man. We did have such a good time, and it has been a little bit of a break, but it's been kind of a much needed break. I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks have kind of been kicking my ass, and I'd feel, more confident in saying that had I not just had to duck and cover from a tornado in the first week of March, like you just had to do.
Right, man, that was crazy. Well, and here's the thing. So with that weekend, well, first let's start with the fact that I gave up alcohol for Lent. And since I gave up alcohol for Lent, it's been a complete shit show. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've needed a drink since I gave up alcohol for Lent. So when they tell you should really give up something you really are gonna miss, trust me, man, it's happening. I got a whole gamut of shit to bitch about, but
no, man. Hey, when you told me that you were gonna alcohol for Lent, I thought, wow, that's bold. That's admirable. That's pious. That's really stupid.
You remember Joey? You remember our friend Joey from Eakin who came on with Kyvan?
Yes,
my nutritionist. Well, the lady there that runs it with him, Janae, is now kind of taking over my nutrition, and she's put me on a very low carb, almost like a ketosis type meal plan, and it's been working. But it absolutely cannot have alcohol during this. And I had those drinks at Revelton, and we had a heart to heart, and I was like, listen, I'm just going to tell you, this is super going to be hard to do. I mean, March Madness is coming up, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. It's going to be nicer out. I'm going to want to go out with friends. This is going to be, I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be really hard to do. The food part I can do, the not drinking, and it's not like I drink all the time, but you like to have a drink with friends, or you'd like to unwind with a cocktail. You do, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like sometimes even when I'm not drinking, and again, to be fair, I am a brewer by trade, so I am around that. But sometimes, I'm pounding coffee all day long. I might have like some beer while I'm making sure our product is good or whatever. And I get home and I'll crack a seltzer water and I'll have dinner or whatever. But at the end of the night, like, man, just pouring just a little bit of whiskey to kind of help me wind down the day.
Yeah.
I think that would be the part that I would probably miss more than anything else.
Yeah. So I decided, so she said, I'd really like to give this new meal plan at least through April. And I was like, all right, listen, this is the deal I'll make you. I got to give up something anyways for Lent. I'll give up alcohol, but that ends the Saturday before Easter Sunday. So you've got 6 weeks. We'll see what this does. So that's what I decided to do. And then
you're going to be enjoying the blood of Christ quite liberally.
So, yes, right. No, we don't take communion right now at church because of COVID. So I'm safe there too. Although anyways, God decided, well, let's see how well we can test him with this. And the week of shit has started, beginning with that tornado.
Yeah, Man, I'm just still so confused because so we were getting hail up here in the Twin Cities while that tornado was bearing down on you, but we were only getting like pea-sized hail. Like literally, it was pea-sized hail, maybe like BB-sized hail. And I saw a bunch of pictures on Twitter of like baseball-sized hail working its way through. And then I saw this map from the National Weather Service Des Moines outfit showing all these tornadoes hitting down. I was like, oh man, this is real. Like a lot of times you hear tornado watches and you think, well, that's going to happen, but you don't think March 5th it's going to really happen. And I sent my folks and my sisters there in Central Iowa text message like, hey, hope everything's okay. How's things looking? And then I saw a tornado hit Winterset and knew it was bearing right down for you folks, like you and your neighbors, and knowing, first of all, you, my good friend, but also all of the friends I have that are your neighbors, since apparently I know literally like half your neighborhood. I was worried an awful lot about you guys. So
I'll preface it by saying unfortunately a young family lost their life in Winterset.
Yeah.
Very tragic. They weren't even from there. I mean, the mother and father and the 3 young kids had come up to see the grandparents in Winterset, and the tornado hit and the grandparents died, the father died, and 2 of the kids died. So, I mean, it was just so tragic. So I'm very lucky that we didn't have anything like that. But my wife, Stacy was putting on a bridal shower for her niece the next day. So all of her sisters had come into town, and a lot of the cousins, all the women cousins had come into town, and they had stayed at a hotel Saturday, and we're going to have kind of a girls' night. So it was just me and Josh and Jordan and my nephew Andy, and then my nephews Matt and Landon. Remember, Landon came on and introduced. They were all going to come down, and we were just going to hang out and play cards.
For sure.
And the tornado started to come, so Matt and Landon stayed in Ankeny, and Andy had just gotten here. So we came to the basement, and internet went out, so I was able to connect one TV streaming service to my phone, at least to keep an eye on the weather. And I have an egress windows down here, and I'm watching. You can just see how bad the wind is blowing, really bad, like really bad. And then it cleared up. So then the next morning, I don't know if people are familiar with Norwalk or the Norwalk area, but just on the
internationally renowned Norwalk, Iowa.
Right? Exactly.
Right.
South of Des Moines.
Home of the favorites, the Norwalkers?
The Norwalk Warriors. Hey, we're the home of 2 superheroes, Brandon Roth and Jason Momoa.
I keep on waiting for you to get Jason Momoa. I'd like to have Khal Drogo and Aquaman on the podcast.
What, I don't get enough?
No.
So yeah. So it turned out it was probably less than a half a mile from our house. As a matter of fact, I had an adjuster out today looking at the roof and siding to put a claim in, because the roof has got some spots that are popped up and shingles are popped up, and some of the siding now looks like it's kind of a little loose. So, I mean, that we're dealing with that. But that's par for the course, when you live in Iowa and live in this, but not in March, not in early March.
Yeah, I'd say not just
and then
March.
It snowed. And then it snowed 2 days later.
Yeah, no, that was the biggest insult to injury for you guys, was literally you like, well, and that was heartbreaking, frankly. So, we're watching these things. We're hearing about the young family that lost their life. We're hearing about the story that absolutely broke me was the man protecting his wife in the bathtub.
Yeah.
That one absolutely destroyed me. And watching all the video, seeing all the video of the aftermath, and then seeing like a day later, seeing tornado damage covered by snow. There's nothing more surreal and heartbreaking and just a microcosm of like what a shit show everything is when tornado damage is covered by snow, and what a tragedy that is. My heart goes out to everyone in those communities, particularly when Winterset, but not the only community that really got hit by this. But man, it kind of makes you just kind of sit back and be like, I don't even know what to say or what to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of times. I remember growing up and my mom always telling me when I would complain about something that somebody's always got it worse. And there's a good example of you got it worse. Jordan, my stepson, is a good example. The other day he was having a rough day at school and he got punished for something, and I get a text message of, "This is the worst day ever." And I was like, dude, that's not going to work for me. Like, let's put things in perspective. Okay. You all of a sudden can't Snapchat your friends because your phone got turned off. And there's people in Winterset that have lost their grandparents and their homes are destroyed.
Yeah.
That doesn't lessen how upset you are, but we need to put things in perspective. And it's a good lesson to learn for everybody. I mean, there's some things going on right now with me that I'm not happy with and is out of my control. I mean, even to the point today where I almost lost my temper on a meeting at work today. That probably would have got me in a lot of trouble.
But yeah, you're right though. I hate to take a tragedy like this and try to put a positive spin on it, but it is a reminder to all of us that and again, not to diminish what people are going through, right? I'm certainly someone that acknowledges that when people are in a mentally unwell state, that it's hard to get an adequate level of perspective. But certainly what happened this week is, we all can stand a little bit of a reminder that things can always be worse, and to show a little bit more grace and humility. And that's not always easy to do when we're caught up in the moment. But man, again, March 5th tornadoes. Like, what the hell is that? That is it's insane. So
it was shocking. It really was.
Yeah.
Although I guess looking at it, we've had some pretty warm weather back and forth. So, I mean, last week in February, we had 60, 65 degree weather. So, you climate change deniers out there, I don't know what to tell you.
And meanwhile, Kansas is supposed to be getting like 4 inches of snow this week. Did you hear about this?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people were talking about the tournament down there today.
Yeah.
They drove down there today and they were getting some pretty bad snow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Somebody posted and said, "This is the first time I've been." I think it was Randy Peterson from the Des Moines Register.
Sure.
He said, "This is the first time that I've covered a Big 12 tournament in Kansas City with snow on the ground."
Yeah, I have not gotten a chance to pay attention. We kind of had a busy day at work at night, and I missed all of that. I was wondering because we're used to seeing these pictures of a bunch of Cardinal shirts there in the Power and Light districts where it's actually supposed to be. Yeah, I'm sure they're still out there, but usually you're used to people in like 50-degree weather, so you're not used to seeing snow and all that stuff. So, yeah, just everything's been kind of upside down for sure. But yeah, man. Speaking of that tournament, this is my favorite time of the year. Conference tournaments are always great. There've been some amazing games already. They continue to be. Baylor and Oklahoma are going at it right now as we speak. A lot of great things. But every single year, My best friend and I get together. We take the first Friday of the NCAA tournament off of work, and we hang out in his loft and have some beers and order some food. Sometimes we'll make like a pot roast even, and shoot some Nerf hoops while we watch basketball all day long, and it's kind of the perfect. Both of us should probably get, like, we always joke every single year, like this would be the perfect time for us to just get vasectomies. We're old enough. We should just. This is the perfect time to do it, but we're always like, yeah, but then we would just be sitting here with bags of peas on our lap, and we'd much rather be
just be like Chris Williams in that commercial. Which you don't get it there, but
I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
friend of the pod, Chris Williams, and his peas on his groin. No, I used to, when I worked at Wells Fargo, I always took that Thursday and Friday off. And we were kind of talking about it in Slack today, how much, people love this time of year or whatever. And I think the question came up is it the best time in sports? And, and somebody said, well, I think it's bowl season and so on, and which might be, but for me, I could probably give you a top 10 iconic like moments from March Madness that I remember.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't name 5 from a bowl season.
Well,
You know what I mean?
and the thing is, I can give you a bunch of iconic basketball moments that don't have anything to do with Iowa State.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying just Iowa State either. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
absolutely.
what I'm saying is, when it comes to bowl season, man, we all remember our favorite teams. We might watch a couple, but there's especially because during bowl season, it's the holidays. We have the games on. We're watching them passively. We're not actively in them. We're certainly not watching 2 games at a time. But like at Chad's next Friday, we'll have 3 TVs going because there will be 3 games going. Like, we're going to be watching all of these together. And you think about Steph Curry at Davidson and all those things. You think about the upset of Virginia a couple of years ago. Like,
I mean, I can even go back as far as Princeton almost upsetting Georgetown and Alonzo Mourning. I mean,
no, absolutely.
And watching those young teams go against those big powerhouses and so forth. It's the funnest time for me in the year. And I'll tell you what I miss is when I worked at my previous company, they were so open about, listen, we know you guys aren't going to do shit around here. So
yeah,
every available conference room, a TV was on, that they'd have it on in the break room. That we had a big break room with 2 big flat screen TVs in there. We had in the marketing department a big flat screen TV that we used for meetings. That was hooked up. We'd hook a laptop up to that and would have a game on. I mean, you walked around, there were people streaming it on their laptops, and a lot of times they'd be like, if you want to take your laptop and go in the break room and work for a couple hours and watch the games while you're working, have at it. That was the kind of stuff at that company that was so cool to work at. I mean,
yeah, I worked at the headquarters of Buffalo Wild Wings. That if there's any company that should be all in on March Madness, it should be a company it should be a company like Buffalo Wild. And I remember one time watching a March Madness game on like one monitor while I was working on the other monitor, and my boss came up and he made a snide comment. I'm like, dude, what do we do for a living? Why are you so up? I'm like, A, I am actually working, which is weird, but B, we literally created a whole campaign about people ditching work to go watch basketball. Like, what is your problem about this? But some people just get uptight about everything.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, besides, man, you need to be able to relax. But also, I think the thing about March Madness to me that makes it so special is Cinderella's. Like, you can talk about bowl season, you can talk about the Super Bowl, you can talk about whatever playoffs you want. This is the one sports and the one championship where Cinderellas are at play. There's literally, I can't think of, there's no Cinderellas in bowl season, right?
No.
There's certainly not a Cinderella in the Super Bowl. They fought their way through the playoffs. This is This is the one where Cinderella's not only matter at like one time or in one game. You might have, especially that first weekend, right? Like next Thursday and Friday, is when you're going to see those upsets. And when you see those things like Florida Gulf Coast a few years back with their Lob City and the crazy run they went on, and these teams that you've never heard of, that's what you get out of March Madness, which is so exciting and why I live for it every year.
I'm the same way. And when you fill out your bracket and then you start watching a game and you know you didn't pick that team, but like that's the ultimate sport. Like that to me is the ultimate is you've got a rooting interest in it through your bracket or whatever.
Yeah,
maybe put some money down on it.
Yeah.
But it all goes out the window the minute, a 14 seed has a chance to upset a 3. You're like, okay, I can get on board with this. Let's see it. Let's blow the bracket up.
I want to see, because like even the years where it's been boring and there haven't been that many upsets, there's still been enough upsets to keep it interesting. But yeah, man, I will let my bracket get bust in the first round. Like if 1 seeds and 2 seeds and 3 seeds are going down in that first weekend, I don't care if there's not a 1, 2, or 3 remaining after the end of the first weekend and my bracket is destroyed. That's when it really gets fun.
Yes.
I mean, unless you're on the other side of that we may or may not be familiar with.
Richmond / UAB. Let me tell you the UAB.
Hampton.
The Hampton. The UAB might be the worst one for me because
I don't know what you're talking about. This has never happened as far as
because it was the first game of the tournament. I'm sitting at my desk at my old job watching it, and I'm dead silent the rest of the day. And I did not watch another stitch of basketball the rest of that tournament. I was so sick. And I'll never forget. I came home that afternoon, and Caitlin and Josh asked me if I wanted to play bags out in the front yard because it was nice out.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my bags game and I put it outside. And all of a sudden, about half an hour later, I looked down at my phone and somebody's tagged me on a Facebook post. And I looked at it. It was my neighbor. He had snapped my photo. And he says, "This is what you do when your team loses the first game. You just decide to go outside and not watch any TV." Oh, man. And the funniest, we were at work one day. This was when I was in the marketing department, and my boss, Kelly, God love her, she was a sports fan. She's a big sports fan. And we're watching the game, and South Dakota was playing. And just out of the blue, they had missed a layup. And she goes, "Oh my God, did that jackrabbit just blow that bunny?" And we just stopped dead in our tracks. And I was like, "Kelly, did you just hear what you said?" And she's like, "Oh my God."
Are we not doing phrasing anymore? Is that what's going on? We're not doing phrasing.
God, it's funny.
No, man, it is fun. Like, man, even living in the state of Iowa for as long as I did and paying attention and, having a friend whose best friend is Ben Jacobson. We wouldn't know names like Ali Farouk without March Madness. You wouldn't have these guys that have made an identity based off of things like that. You wouldn't have all of, like, I remember watching you and I beat KU in thumbs and Ames. I'd gone back just randomly. I decided one March Madness, like maybe I needed to go back to Ames, and me and a friend of mine who was living with me, we decided to drive down to Ames and watch that, and just how much fun it was to just watch a bunch of people at a sports bar invested in 0 teams being absolutely enamored with that underdog and seeing that going down. Where else are you going to get people that want to root for someone they don't care about 364 days of the year?
Yeah, when the tournament was down here in Des Moines, I wanted to go so bad. This is another thing that I'm kind of melancholy about lately is I just kind of feel like in my early life I missed out on so many things that people have done that I never did. And now I just haven't had a chance to do it because of timing or whatever, but it's a matter of like the tournament. I would have loved to have bought tickets and went down there and watched some games or whatever. I just didn't do it. But now I see all these people in Kansas City at the Power and Light District, and they talk about they've went so many times. And I thought, would have loved to have done that when I was younger. I just couldn't. I didn't have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Partially it was because of, the marriage I was in and the situation I was in and finances. The other thing is that, I didn't know how to do those types of things or whatever. And
yep.
Now that I'm older and I'm in a little better position, I'm looking forward to being able to do those types of things. But, it's all kind of relevant. So that's another thing that's been kind of had me down a little bit, is just missed opportunities that I wish I would have taken advantage of when I could have. And those are nobody's fault but my own, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I think there's still something to that, right? So we kicked this off a little bit earlier talking about realizing that you could always have it worse, and I think that that's absolutely a good perspective to have. But I think part of what makes good mental health is recognizing some of the things that you wish you would have taken advantage of. As much as I appreciate people that, well, no, screw that. I don't trust anyone who says they have no regrets, because if you don't have any regrets, you either decided that you've never hurt someone in your life, which is not true, or you just think you've gotten things figured out a little bit more. Like, it's okay to learn from things, but half the lessons in my life, I swear I didn't need to learn. There was something I should have already known. But I do think it's okay. It's particularly as we're in a weird space right now where I think it's okay to acknowledge that man, sometimes you just that if you gave it time and made good decisions, you'd have all these things figured out, but you're still struggling with what that means. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. Stacy and I were talking the other day about wanting to go somewhere and just, take a weekend or what have you. So, and being able to, now that we're, the kids are out of the house a little bit, us taking advantage of some of that time and stuff like that. Taking a weekend trip, just getting in the car and driving somewhere. I mean, we haven't been able to do those things, and now we kind of do.
Yeah.
Was hoping to take a trip next Saturday or next week, sometime during spring break, but some things have happened at the job that I'm at that I'm going to have to hold on to PTO for as long as I can. But let me just preface by saying, this is going to take a turn, but
well, bring it on, man. Bring it on.
I got to tell you, man, employers think that people don't want to work and whatever, and people out there think people don't want to work because they're lazy or whatever. I'm telling you, it's because a lot of times they get treated pretty fucking shitty.
Yeah.
And they get taken advantage of. And I can't get into a lot of details because of legality or whatever, but my job is being shifted. It wasn't by choice by me.
Yep.
I didn't choose it. It's out of my hands. And basically I have one of two options. I can take whatever they're going to give me, or I can quit. And that that came out in mid-January. It's supposed to be final the end of this month. And as of today, I still don't have 90% of the details of what I need to know. And the more answers that I get, the more frustrated I am.
You know, I was just talking with a former employee of mine tonight, and I was asking him how he was managing his relationship with a coworker that I used to have, who's not really he's not really a boss, but like a dotted line boss. You think about a matrix organization where you might report to one, but your work direction comes from another. You know, and what I was telling him was, you know, he's going to look a lot at bottom line numbers, and he's probably going to make all of his decisions based off of bottom line numbers, but he's not impermeable to empathy and, you know, not undervaluing those things. And I think a lot of employers have just gotten so much into depersonalizing things that I think sometimes, and it's not easy to do, but it requires employees to basically coach upward on that empathy aspect and understanding that, yeah, you know, technically I could get that done all by myself. If you want me to, you know, blow my brains out because I'm getting that all done, yeah, I could technically do that, but I'm going to hate myself. I'm going to hate life. I'm going to hate you. I'm going to hate this job. I'm going to hate everything if that's what you're asking me to do. And that's hard to capture in data, right?
Right. And I it's like I told my boss today after we were on this conference call about the changes. I know it's not her. She's affected, you know, just as much. I mean, she's losing part of her team and things like that. I mean, so I sympathize with that stuff, but you know, at the bottom line is I have to take care of me and my family and my situation. And
yeah, for sure.
I just feel like this new company has totally sandbagged me and us. I mean, that the entire group of people that this affected, and I'm not happy about it. And honestly, if you think that makes me want to wake up in the morning and gung ho be ready to go to work tomorrow, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. That's how it is for any place that's treated. And I don't think some of these companies get that. They're so old school. This whole, you know, pushing people to go back to the office. Now I'm one of those ones that would like to go back to the office because I'm getting, Stacy's gone all day. The kids aren't here all day. I don't talk to anybody all day.
Yep.
It's getting back. It wasn't so bad when I started this job because I was learning stuff all the time and my mind was occupied. But as you get more and more familiar with things and your mind isn't engaged, it does get a little taxing sitting here every day. So if I don't have something to look at or to you know, I'd like to have a 20-minute car ride to go to work and have some coffee and those things are, you know.
But that works for you and your lifestyle, and you have a lot of coworkers with different lifestyles and different needs. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yes, but this whole push that they need to be in the office and it's important to be in the office, I think, has been dispelled. And you need to listen to your employees of what they want. I remember years and years ago, I think I was in high school and I worked at this restaurant, and the guy that ran this restaurant was an absolute complete fucking dick. Mm-hmm. He was an asshole. He was an older guy. He was the manager there. His wife, actually, he ended up buying the restaurant and running it. His wife ran it with him. And I mean, I'm telling you, they were like, if you ever watch Restaurant Impossible or something like that, where these people are absolutely fucking angry all the time, that was him. And I remember it was shortly before I got fired. I said, you're wrong when you come in here and you tell us that the customer is always right and the customer is the most important thing. I said, you're wrong. I said, if you don't have an employee that wants to work for you because you're an absolute asshole, it doesn't matter what you give that customer.
Yeah.
If you have unhappy employees, you're going to have turnaround all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he did acknowledge that after a while. But I mean, I was just like, I can't come in here every night. And then when things don't go right, you're back here screaming off your head. Like, I'm not tolerating that. And like I told my boss today, I didn't choose this. And if I'd have known what was going to happen here, I probably would not have left my other job.
Yeah. Well,
because as much as that wasn't so great, I at least enjoyed the majority of the people I worked with, and I knew it, and I didn't feel like I was going to get ramrodded.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like right now.
Yeah. That's one thing about, I hate to be like the look at the bright side of COVID, but one of the nice things about COVID is that it exposed a lot of those traditional workplace myths, right? Like,
for sure.
Like we've had a lot of things that we've just, when I worked at Best Buy corporate years ago, and people were always policing who was getting done what when, and I'm like, man, none of the things that we're doing are producing widgets per hour. So why the F do you care about who's working what hours? We're not producing widgets per hour. We're producing outcomes. So what do you care? What do you care who's working when and where and how they're getting it done? You care that they're getting it done. Be outcome based. And they had even changed at one point to this results oriented work environment, but people were still even then caught up in that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that person, they're doing grocery shopping in the middle of the day instead of answering emails. I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares?
Right.
Have they prevented you from doing your job? Have they prevented outcomes from getting done? Maybe they work from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. I don't care. Yeah. Like if they have a job that requires them to be on a help desk from 2 to 4, that's fine. Like, yes, then they should do that. But the rest of the time, why do we care? But there's so many traditional things that have been very hard, especially for old school employers, to really understand. The old way is dead, and it's meaningless. That, for as much talk as we did about how all these COVID restrictions were collapsing the economy, last I checked, we still exist. Like, you know what I mean? Like as much as we joked about, oh boy, all the toilet paper's off the shelves and all that stuff, I have not gone wanting for any consumerism.
I saw some joker the other day on Twitter, who is on my list. That guy's a complete fucking asshole, and we'll probably talk about another one of his tweets later. Said something about the convenience store here in town. The shelves were empty, and I just wanted to go, you lying prick. I live in the same town as you.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah, first of all, it's not true. And second of all, what points are you trying to score?
Right. I'm so over these people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I don't even engage in it anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
Like this whole, I absolutely lost my mind last week. At a couple people, him included, this guy included, who all I'm going to say is a friend of a mutual friend of ours. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. That's fair.
Guy's a grade A asshole, and I don't care if my mutual friend gets upset at it or not. The guy's a fucking dick. He actually literally tweeted out the other day that being a transgender kid is a mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, that's that type of bullshit. I don't understand where people even get. First of all, is it affecting you? If it's not affecting you, then go suck a bag of dicks. Like, I don't get why you would worry about that anyway. It's certainly not affecting the number of parents that get worried.
It's not affecting anybody, Tim. It's not even a real thing.
Yeah, the number of parents I see that get upset about what is happening in the classroom and what their kids are affected by and with. Man, my daughter comes home and she wore her mask. She doesn't have to wear a mask. Her school lifted mask mandates. She wears a mask all day. Do I tell her to wear a mask? No, she does it because she feels comfortable with it. She's fine. And all these parents saying that my kid can't handle it. Well, then your kid's a pussy. I don't understand why you're still mad about this stuff. And then all of these things, you know what my daughter cares about? She tells me the best part of her day is my daughter tells me the best part of her day is what she had for lunch. Like, I don't understand why all of these parents get so up in arms about these things. And what, by the way,
because they lead by fear, Tim. That's what they do.
I mean,
they lead by fear.
If you're worried about a transgender kid, what are you worried about? You're worried that you have to talk to your kid.
Yeah.
That's what you're worried about. You're worried you have to talk to your kid. That's a you problem, dude. That is not anything else. That's what drives me insane about stuff like that.
The amount of times that I asked last week for somebody to send me one article where a transgender girl dominated a sport.
Yeah.
And I called the morning rush with Heather and Travis and Sean the other day. We're talking about it, and Travis was like, it's a made-up deal, like it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
And I called in and I said, I just want to address one thing. I said, when my child went through his transition, you know what he didn't cry about or worry about when he was going through all that hardship?
Mm-hmm.
What his track time was going to be.
Yeah.
Like that was not even part of his thought process.
Right.
So, Tim, there were times I've never told anybody this story. I didn't say it on the radio. But Tyler there for a long time would cut himself.
Mm-hmm.
He'd have cuts all over his arms. And I could not figure out how to fix it. And this was in middle school, when all he was doing at the time was he would go up, and he was so friendly to girls that because he was in a woman's body and he wanted to be their friend, and people would make fun of him and tease him and bully him to the point where he would come home and cry and cut himself. And there'd be nights I'd think to myself, I should probably go downstairs and hide all the knives in the house because I don't know if I'm going to wake up and he's going to be alive in the next morning.
Uh-huh.
So don't give me this fucking horseshit that a biological female, female might get her record taken in a fucking track meet. Like, give me a fucking break, people.
What?
That's your concern?
And by the way, who the fuck cares? This is high school records. Like, is there anything so you and I have had a lot of guests from the sports world on this podcast. You and I watch a lot of sports. We're going to wrap this thing up so we can watch sports tonight. Is there anything less meaningful in the world than a sports record? Like, there's literally nothing less meaningful in the world. Like, I do not care. I do not care.
Watched a documentary the other night on Walter Payton, and Emmitt Smith broke his rushing record.
Yeah.
Do you think that when Emmitt Smith broke his record, Walter Payton went, motherfucker?
He was there's no one in the world that was more excited for Emmitt Smith than Walter Payton.
And if your biggest concern is your daughter's ego, rather than learning how to be compassionate towards other people, that's a whole nother fucking problem. And I'm telling you right now, I do not give a fuck who hears it and who doesn't agree with me. If they don't want to be around me, they don't want to talk to me, that's just fucking fine. I am over it. And this whole gonna lead from fear bullshit, I'm fucking over.
Yeah.
Come up with real solutions to real fucking problems.
Yeah.
Don't get on your fucking high horse and surround yourself with fucking puppet kids that their parents have put them out there for show, signing a bill, smiling and giggling that you just shoved a bunch of kids back in a closet and told them they're not important.
Well, it's the same people that are retweeting these pictures of these, signs at a little league field. It's like, hey, parents, remember these are kids and be nice. And those are good signs to have up, but they're the same people that are hypocrites about that. Like that want to be like, well, man, like just let the kids be kids. Like parents need to settle down at youth games, and parents need to settle down at youth games. I have watched a lot of fights here at the Minnesota State hockey tournament where parents take a whole lot. I mean, there's an awful lot of adults that never let high school glory go, which is the saddest thing. If you want to call being transgender a mental illness, how about being a man in your 50s who can't fucking forget a high school event? That is a mental illness. Not being able to let go of something that happened 40 years in the past is a fucking mental illness.
Well, I'll tell you,
don't you tell me someone who has lived and is not hurting themselves or anyone else has a mental illness when you are literally hurting children by complaining about high school sports. That is a mental illness.
That guy lives in my town who said that. Yeah. And I tweeted out a picture of his comment. And I will tell you right now, Tim, if I see that guy in town, he's going to stand in front of me and say that to my face.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
And I guarantee you he won't, because he doesn't have any balls. He'll run his mouth on social media behind his fake fucking name and on all that bullshit. I got news for you. I'm right here in Norwalk. I'm easy to fucking find. Feel free to come up there and say that my kid has a mental illness and find out what fucking happens.
Yeah, and by the way, we all have a fucking mental illness. Like, you know what is a mental illness? Any crime that happens is antisocial behavior, which, by the way, antisocial behavior is by definition a mental illness. Like it not only stigmatizes people going through some real shit, but it also just stigmatizes the ability for anyone to come out with anything going on. I just don't understand why people feel so affected by things that don't affect them. Literally the only, if you're going to affect someone else, right? Like that's the classic argument of just about anything else is if it happens between two consenting people, what do I care? Why?
It's none of my business. It's none of my business.
I
got enough. I got enough of my own shit to deal with.
Right. If I want the government or anything else out of my personal life, then I want them out of everyone else's personal life too.
That's the other thing. Oh my God. The amount of less government. I don't want the government to tell me what to do. I don't want the government to tell me this, and I don't want the government to tell me that. But then they pass a law that says you can't say the word gay in school in Florida. Yeah. They pass a law that a transgender girl can't play sports in girl sports. They want to tell you who you can marry. They want to tell you what you can do with your own body. Like, give me a fucking break, people.
Yeah. Man, if you're not hurting anyone else, and if you can demonstrate how any of this shit is hurting any kids, because again, the kids don't. I swear to God, if you look at every video of a parent getting upset at a school board meeting, if you go talk to that parent's kids, those kids are ashamed. They're like, I don't understand why my mom or dad is so upset about this. That's inconsequential bullshit. Like I don't get why people get so up on their own ass about that stuff.
God love him. I've talked fondly about my dad. I love him to death. But I'll never forget the time in middle school. I came out of school. He picked me up, and he said, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "I didn't get my report card today." And he said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I haven't paid my school fees, so they won't give me my report card." Dude, he fucking pulled the car over, stormed into the office. Now I'm like, I don't know what middle school age is. I don't know what, 12, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
12.
yeah, probably 12. Yeah.
Bunch of kids are in there. And my dad just loses his fucking mind on this poor lady behind the counter. How dare you not give him that report card, even though I haven't paid this bill? It's none of your fucking, I mean, F this and F that. And you don't own that report card. I do, because my taxes and, you know, the whole, he was a Karen. I'm telling you, man. And I'm over there in the corner, just like, God, Dad, can we just go home? Like, it's not that big a deal. You can call him. Like, you're embarrassing me. And do you know, the next day I went to school and it was all over the school. Shipley's dad was in there having a hissy fit because he doesn't pay his bills and doesn't. I mean, I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And he didn't see what he was doing. He was angry because, and I know he was probably angry because he didn't pay that bill and he knew he should have paid it. And he probably forgot. It wasn't that we didn't have the money, but instead of just saying, oh, fuck, you know, I totally forgot, he flew off the handle and made a big deal out of it and embarrassed me.
Yeah. Besides, frankly, the type of student you were pretty happy that that report card didn't get released.
I was more worried that as pissed off as he was when he got that report card, he was going to be even more pissed.
I was going to say, you probably tore up that check to make sure that report card didn't show up.
Like, I swear to God, I wrote that check. Oh, Dad, you didn't. They tried to give it to me. I was like, no, really. He didn't pay the bill. I swear to God, he didn't. You shouldn't give me that.
Yeah, no. Every time I see a parent getting all pissed off at this stuff at a school board meeting, I just picture them yelling at a ref at a little league game, and just realize that there are an awful lot of people.
They don't think, man. They don't think.
I love my daughter so much. And I think that she's an amazing human being, and she's super smart, and she can do whatever she wants. And, you know, I took her to this International Women's Day thing the other night, and she talked about how proud she was, and that was awesome. But there are two things that I wish for my daughter more than anything. That she's happy and she treats other people well. And that's it, man. That's it. I don't care if she is a doctor or a line cook at a restaurant or whatever. Like, be happy and treat other people well. I'm not ever going to pitch a fit over anything else, because if I am, that's my ego, not hers. I'm not defending her. I'm defending me. And that's some bullshit. I'll never go to a school board meeting or a PTA meeting or a parent teacher conference and worry about my ego. And I feel like so many parents are worried about their own ego. Like, when you have a kid, your ego should go out the fucking door. It should be, is my kid happy and healthy and treating others well? And that's it.
Stop it, Tim. Stop being woke. Such a liberal. That's the problem, though, is that they live vicariously through their kids. I was coaching Josh and Jordan in baseball years ago, and listen, they're 19 years old. They might weigh 120 pounds now. I mean, they are not big kids at all. And back then,
go ahead. They're not signing pro contracts anytime soon.
Right. So they were in a baseball game, and Jordan, I'm trying to remember. I think he was probably 7. It was little league, and he was tiny.
Yeah.
And he had gotten hit by a pitch the game earlier, right?
Yeah.
So every time he was up to bat, as soon as the pitch would come in, he'd back away. And
back,
and he was scared.
I did that first year of little league too. I get that.
And this parent behind the plate for the opposing team, his kid was pitching, yelled out and said, "Just throw it in there. He's too much of a scaredy cat to hit the ball." And Tim, I'm telling you, man, I lost my fucking mind. I walked over. I was at the first base coach line, and I walked over to the guy and I said, "Did you just say that my kid's too much of a scaredy cat, so throw it in there?" I said, "You see that he's scared, right?"
Yeah.
You see that. Instead of just giving your kid encouragement, you felt the need to make my kid look bad.
Well, and that's the thing.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come around the corner. I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And then the umpire had to come. But I'm just like, how could you talk to a little kid like that?
Like, if you want to build up your own kid without tearing the other kid
You
down.
can
Who's
see him
right
that he's scared to
fucking
death.
there? Right?
You
Like,
can see
I
that he's
want
scared.
I want to go to that person's office, and every time they screw up, make sure that their boss knows every single mistake. Like, oh boy, really? You're going to put that number in cell C6 on that spreadsheet? What an idiot! I hope you die in a fire, you idiot! Like, you're terrible. No wonder you're working at this low level job, you idiot! Like they abuse kids they don't know without understanding that they wouldn't put up with their own abuse in their own life, and it's very frustrating.
You see why I need alcohol. You see why.
and by the way, this is all to say that even if we all agreed, and we don't, like, I agree with you, it's not, but even if we all agreed that being transgender was a mental illness, even if we all agreed that it was, you still need to be sympathetic to the people that have that, right?
Exactly.
I mean, kids that have autism, we're sympathetic to kids that have autism. Kids that have ADD, we're sympathetic to kids that have ADD. We don't sit here and yell and make rules against them and say that they're terrible and say that it's an ill on society that happens. So even if I agree with you, and I don't agree with you that transgender is a mental illness, and I'm not talking to you, Chris, but I'm just saying, right, even if I don't agree with you that a transgender child is mental illness, so let's just pretend that I agree transgender is mental illness. You know what I want to do? I want to be loving and supportive and patient with that kid. Because any kid that's going through any challenges deserves love and support and patience. And if you're like, oh, but my kid's records are going to be at stake, I don't give a shit. Then teach your kid that life exists outside of fucking high school. Teach your kid that every accomplishment that they do in high school matters for the 18 years that they're in school, and they have the majority of their life outside of school to be something. Like, that's what matters, man. Like, I'm proud of everything my kid does at school. I'm proud that my kid knows how to read right now, but I'm not going to be sitting here in 10 years talking about how my kid read Hop on Pop. Like, that doesn't make her any better. That doesn't make me feel any better. Like, you know what I'm proud of is that my daughter has potential to be something else. Not that she's going to live on her rest on her laurels of who she is now. Like worry about that. I do not get why people are all up in arms about it, other than to say that they have a lot of their own insecurity that they're working on themselves, or they're not working on, and they can just deal with that.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. I just can't fathom the hate and the now I said when I got on the radio the other day, I'm a parent of a transgender child.
Yeah.
And I'm conflicted about that issue to begin with, because I do sympathize with a parent that has a kid that might lose a spot on a team or something to that effect. I mean, that,
yep.
But it pales in comparison to what the flip side of that is. And there's lots of things, and there's lots of disappointments in life that you're going to experience that as an adult that are out of your hands, that may not seem fair, but that's life.
Dude, I'm 5'6". No one promised me a spot on as the starting center on the basketball team, because we have to be fair to everyone for everything that happens in life. That's not how this works.
Right.
That's not how life works.
Melvin's favorite saying, life is not fair. And the sooner that you learn that, the better off you're going to be.
And the same assholes calling for a ban on transgender athletes are the same people calling everyone else snowflakes.
Yes.
It's like physician, heal thyself. If you can't get over that, that's not what life is. If you're so worried about youth sports or sports in general, I love sports. I watch sports. I can't wait to watch sports tonight. I do not care. I do not care. There's literally nothing in sports that has made society better. I
Except for the 85 Bears. And the Cubs winning the World Series.
Yeah. Speaking of hanging on to past glories.
I know we haven't even gotten to the worst news today. The Bears traded Khalil Mack for a fucking second round pick.
Dude, the NFL trade market right now is so bonkers backwards. It's so
the Chargers that now I got to listen to JT and his bullshit.
It's so insane to me that like Brock Osweiler was like a third round pick and picked ahead of Russell Wilson, and they're trading first round picks for Russell Wilson. Like they could have had him for a first round pick, and they're trading first round picks to get him. Like clearly, every time I see someone say, and like we just got done through with the combine, right? Yeah. And every time I hear people say, "Oh, well, that's not worth a first round pick," I'm like, "What the fuck do you know? You're going to trade that person for 3 first round picks in 2 years."
Yeah.
If no one's worth a first round pick, no one should ever be traded for a first round pick. There should literally never be trades in the NFL that include first round picks, but there are, and the reason is because everyone sucks at assessing talent.
I was fine with Ryan Pace trading 2 first round picks for Khalil Mack because he fucked up the other first round picks that he took anyways. So who cares? We've now entered the portion of the podcast where Caitlin decides.
I was gonna say, speaking of things that we're disappointed in, but we're gonna go ahead and support anyway.
I'm just telling you. I got out with the teachers. So I'll be home later. So
what are you guys gonna do? Go prepare a bunch of pop quizzes for later?
No, we're gonna go to 804.
Teacher party. They're gonna pull out the crayons
I'm just saying, I just have your phone on.
Work on.
I need to call you.
Work on precipitations or whatever those are. Adjectives.
Hi, Caitlin. We have a teacher strike going on up here in Minneapolis right now. Which is ironic because it's happening at the exact same time that we're giving $7,000 raises to the police department. And only one of those 2 public services have been an absolute national embarrassment in the last 2 years. But yeah, I don't get like people are just bad at whether it's the draft or kids' performance or anything. People are bad at data assessment at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah.
People trust their gut a lot.
You know, it's funny. I started watching the first episode of Winning Time on HBO Max, which is the kind of serial series about the Lakers and Magic Johnson or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet. Is it good?
I'm first episode in. I'm about halfway through. Okay. Something came up today and I didn't watch the rest of it. But that kind of just like that. The previous owner, Jack Kent, wanted to take Sidney Moncrief and Jerry West wanted to take Sidney Moncrief because of all these intangibles and whatever else. And Jerry Buss is like, no, we got to take Magic. He's a star. I just feel like we need to take him, So it was that whole argument of they were going to take Moncrief because of all these intangible or all these, legible stats and so on. And Jerry West didn't want to take Magic because he was too tall and you have to dribble the ball farther, and the strides are longer. And so it's kind of the same thing. I
mean, I get, well, the thing is like, we always look at these people who made great decisions in hindsight and think that they were genius. when they could have just as well have been stupid. Like Malcolm Gladwell has this thing in Outliers where basically everyone who's been successful over attributes their success to the decisions they made and under attributes it to chance and happenstance and what else is right. I mean, there was a whole thing. People were dragging Kim Kardashian on Twitter here lately because there's a billion things, but she's like, oh no, the thing is people just need to work hard and like, well, yeah, and also have rich parents and have a sex tape.
Right.
But like, but she's and you know, and her half sister is, you know, the youngest billionaire or whatever, and people like to praise that, like, but they're misattributing those things and they're missing privilege, right?
Yep.
That's not to say you wouldn't be successful if you would have had all the connections that just being born into that family. Forget the money, just the connections, the access to people.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And also, you know what, man, my job, I don't sit down all day long. I'm on my feet 24/7. I'm picking up 55 pound grain sacks. I'm picking up 160 pound kegs all day long. I'm not successful because in brewing, you don't make money. I'm happy, so I'm not regretting it. I'm not angry about it. I'm not complaining to anyone. I made a lot more money in the corporate world when I sat down and had a cushy job and felt comfortable and didn't hurt my back and didn't hurt my legs. But don't tell anyone that hard work is what that is. Because first of all, half of those people saying hard work is the key to success don't really work hard. They say they do, they don't.
Right.
And also, what really, like, we've asked the question on the podcast, what is your measure of success? And by that definition, who's the most successful? I've never had a guest on here say, well, my measure of success is who made the most money. And let me tell you who made the most money in my life.
That's right.
Right? That's never happened on our podcast.
You know, it's funny that we've kind of delved into this because I had an opportunity a couple weeks ago, and it's still floating out there. And I told Stacy, I said, you know, well, when she asked me how it went, and I said, well, it could be the biggest opportunity in my life, or I could be proven a complete fraud. I'm not quite sure. It's 50-50 in my head right now. And I suffer a lot from imposter syndrome. You know what that is? You know, where you think you know what you're doing and you feel.
I was gonna say I would think I could tell you what imposter syndrome is, but I only pretend like I know what it is. So
you go through the day and you feel like,
yeah,
maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I'm just day by day lucking out.
It's kind of the opposite of fake it till you make it.
Yeah, no, it is.
Right?
Yeah, because it's more like, you know, fake it until they find out I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That's
not called imposter syndrome. That's literally just called the last 43 years of my life, man.
So, I mean, and it's a real thing. And when this opportunity came up and as it's gone by and I've not heard anything, I told Stacey, I said, you know, I think even though it would be an unbelievable opportunity and I'm not afraid, I also don't want to come home every night and be stressed out and upset because I'm struggling every day to figure out what I'm supposed to do or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If I know what I'm doing. I have enough of that now in anything I do on a lesser extent, but then I rely on, you know, my organization or my, you know, past successes or whatever and go, no, I can handle this. But I don't know that opportunity is something that I wouldn't every day obsess about it to the point where I would be unhappy, and no amount of money is going to make me happy.
You know, I've after my daughter was born and I quit a job that was pretty lucrative, what I acknowledged was I'm never going to be a good dad if I'm sacrificing my happiness for money. As much as my daughter needs money and needs to be set for the future, you know what? Screw that. Her grandparents are wealthy. She's going to be fine. You know what she needs from me? She needs a happy dad. She needs someone who's going to be supportive and loving and caring because he has the energy to do all of those things.
Yeah.
And so have I loved every job I've taken since then? Not necessarily. Have I still loved them better than anything that would have quote unquote provided for them more that, other people thought I should have taken for her? No, I'm not providing for her because of money. I'm providing for her by mental and emotional capital.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Sometimes money isn't everything. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man, we should probably wrap up. I'm just noticing a text from another fantastic dad here, George Condit, getting really excited to see his son in one last Big 12 tournament.
That leads into a nice little date I have not told you about.
Yes.
But on the 22nd, make sure your calendar is cleared. A very nice guest that we had on before is actually going to be here at my house.
Oh, wow.
Recording. George Trice is going to be in town.
Oh, excellent.
And he has agreed to contact his friend Reggie Hayward, who just got elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Sorry, not pro, the ISU Hall of Fame. Got distracted by the TV and the and we're gonna see if we can get Reggie on with us. And but George will be in town. He'll be in my little studio down here. I unfortunately still won't be off Lent, so I won't be drinking. And then, as we teased a little bit at Revelton, May 11th, we're recording with Jamie Pollard.
Very excited, man. As always, Chris, you are crushing it with getting us some fantastic guests. We've had a lot of people to learn a lot from. Really excited to get a chance to talk to some of these folks. Reggie had one of those very quiet but really impressive NFL careers, frankly.
Yeah, he did.
Right, with the Broncos and with the Jaguars and man, that guy had one of those you hear so much about these guys that the average NFL career is something like 3 years or something like that, and Reggie was in the league for what, 9 years, and he put together a nice little career, but also from everything I remember, certainly when we were in school together, also just a really good guy.
Yeah.
So that would be a lot of fun to talk to him. Man, it's still funny to me to think about it, as much as we are old man strength, and I recognize how old I am to see some of these guys that I went to college. Like when we had Marcus on, and I realized, oh shit. I never felt older than when we had Marcus Pfizer.
I know,
right? Marcus, I apologize right now, but absolutely. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, shoot. Let's get this thing wrapped up so we can watch some cycling basketball. Chris, any other things you kind of want to plug aside from some upcoming pods?
Revelton's having a big thing for St. Patrick's Day. Go to their website, check it out, get down there, tell Rob and Christy hi, tell them Old Man Strength sent you down there, and I do have some t-shirts and hats still left over if you guys want some. So
please guys, check out strength_old on Twitter so you can check out everything that we're doing, check out the merch. I learned a little bit more about Revelton too and our trip down there. Please go visit Rob and Christy. What a great time. What a great tap room. What a great everything. I just had the time of my life down there. So please go visit them. Please visit the Tailgate Society at thetailgatesociety.com and Teagate Society on Twitter. Chris is at SideRadSideDad. I am Tim Johnson, MN. Chris, is there anything I'm missing?
Height, good look.
Oh, good looks. Really? You want to put the two
My
of us
beard
together?
is getting much more fuller than yours. I
just trimmed mine up, so yeah, that is fair. That you are.
It's getting to the stage where Stacy will start to complain.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys once again. You have wasted another hour and a half with old man strength. We cannot thank you more for it. Please check us out, and we will see you guys next time.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin.